Brady remains undefeated against the Falcons. Leonard Fournette is the man. And who were our plays and players of the game? All that and more on this episode of the Locked On Bucs podcast. Hey, Troy, fire that cannon.
You are Locked On Buccaneers, your daily Tampa Bay Buccaneers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up and welcome to the Locked On Bucs podcast, free and available on all platforms, including YouTube, here on a Victory Monday. We appreciate all of you making us your first listen or first watch every day. I am James Yarko, joined by David Harrison. You can find everything that we're doing over at BucsNation.com. Make sure you follow along on Twitter at LockedOnBucs, at JYarko_Bucs, at DHarrison82, and at Bucs_Nation.
Yeah, we do appreciate you joining us here on Victory Monday, making us your first listen or your first view of the day. Like James said, your Tampa Bay Buccaneers appreciate you supporting them as they advance to 9-3 in the 2021 NFL season with a 30-17 win over the Atlanta Falcons. Shout out to Matt and Troy out there in Morven, Georgia. Troy with the sweeping broom gun. I don't know if that's what they call it, but that's what I'm going to call it as the Buccaneers complete the season sweep of the Atlanta Falcons and Matt Ryan and the Atlanta Falcons. And I'll tell you what, James, early on in this game, I mean, not as comfortable as I think that people would have wanted it to go. They go into the locker room only up 3 points, 20-17 after a Tom Brady pick six, possibly one of the strangest pick sixes I've ever seen in my entire football watching days. Of course, ahead of that, I mean, the Buccaneers get the ball back in that situation. They're up 10 points, and you kind of wonder what are they going to do in this situation. I'm sure everybody kind of had their thoughts about it. James, I want to ask you, what were your thoughts when the Buccaneers get the ball back? They're inside their own 10 or at the 10 at the best. You know, they've got a 10-point lead. The Falcons do get the ball to start the second half, so I'm sure that kind of had something to do with the decision-making process there. But what were your thoughts seeing the Buccaneers take the field in that situation? What would you have done if you were Bruce Arians?
Well, my thought was, and I was following along with the game a little bit while I was at my son's hockey games. We had about 2 hours in between the end of the first game and the beginning of the second. So I'm keeping tabs and checking out, and they were doing their warm-ups, and I was watching along on the app, and I saw that Brady threw the pick six, and my initial thought was, okay, the Bucs have the ball back. You know, they have a long way to go, but if they can at least get in field goal range, they have enough time. They have all their timeouts. They're in a good spot. Saw that first play was a quick pass to Chris Godwin, and I figured, okay, they probably tried to get the ball to Godwin, see if they could pick up a chunk, and continue to try to get in field goal range. And then I saw Brady intercepted, returned for a touchdown, and I thought this could not have been a worse situation because you prevented the Falcons from doubling up, right? Your defense stopped them. You got the ball back. You have an opportunity to add to your lead before the Falcons get the ball to start the second half. If I'm Bruce Arians and Byron Leftwich, I don't love that play call, and I don't love the execution of that play, but I'm doing exactly what they did. I'm going for it. I have all my timeouts in my back pocket, and I have an explosive offense. All you need is one chunk to really get you going and be able to get in position for, at the very least, Ryan Succop to kick a field goal. So I loved the decision to try to get more points, but that little screen pass was a bad call. The execution of it was bad, but hats off to Atlanta. I can't remember the defender's name. But it was
Davidson, defensive tackle, Marlon Davidson.
Incredible catch by him. And of course, he took one step and he was in the end zone. So credit to him for the heads up play, splitting out to get over to Leonard Fournette. But I don't mind the Bucs being aggressive in that situation.
Yeah, see, so and I think that this is where the conversation is going to split a little bit. So you go back and let's go back in time a little bit to that situation, right? The Atlanta Falcons, like you said, the Buccaneers defense had prevented them from taking a score into halftime, basically coming back, right, going 2 for 1, as they like to say. The Atlanta Falcons got the ball back with just under 5 minutes left in the first half, end up punting the ball, and the Buccaneers take over possession with 44 seconds left in the half. And up to that point, James, 3 of the 4 offensive possessions for the Atlanta Falcons had entered into Buccaneers territory. That's not, it's not red zone. It's not inside the 35 necessarily, but you have an offense in the Atlanta Falcons that is doing a little bit of damage. They're coming up with some plays, and they are pushing your defense at least into your end of what they like to call plus territory for the opponent. They're pushing you into your own end of the field. So you come out there, you're at the Tampa Bay 7. That's where the Buccaneers end up getting the ball with 44 seconds left to play. Like you said, you do have your 3 timeouts. Me personally, you're up by 10. Your offense has looked great up until that point. 3 out of 4 drives in that game had ended in touchdowns for Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense. So your offense is looking great. Your defense is doing enough, right? Same thing. 4 drives, you've allowed 10 points. 4 drives on the other side, could have scored 21. Ryan Suckup missed extra point. You scored 20, right? So everything is going well. And it's kind of one of those situations where I get the no risk it, no biscuit mentality, and I love the no risk it, no biscuit mentality. But when I think aggressive offense, I don't think screenplays. I'm just being honest here. I don't think screenplays from your own 7 is aggressive. I think screenplays from your own 7, you're hoping that the Atlanta Falcons are going to make a mistake either in pursuit or through penalties to give you more yards than you should have gotten and kind of luck into a positive situation. And I don't think that a team that is gearing up for a Super Bowl run should be trying to luck into offense. I think you should either go attack and be aggressive, like you said, or don't attack and take the ball into the half, right? But by going out there and I call it kind of getting a little cute and trying to see if you can just luck into some yards here to see if it's worth pushing the ball further down the field, you end up putting the ball in risk. If you wanted to be conservative and see if the Falcons were going to give away some yardage, run the ball with Leonard Fournette. Run the ball with Giovanni Bernard. Run the ball with Keyshawn Vaughn for all I care. Run the ball. Don't put the ball in the air. Don't put the ball in harm's way. Granted, Marlon Davidson, the play he makes, 80% of defense tackles in the NFL aren't going to make that play. So I get it. It's a fluke thing. But those things only happen when you put yourself in that situation. To me, it was just a situation the Buccaneers didn't need to necessarily put themselves into. I didn't like the first screen pass. When I saw it happen and execute, I even said out loud, well, I don't like that. And then the very next one is the pick 6. Obviously, if you don't like the first one, you're not going to like the second one any better. Fortunately, the team, it doesn't end up causing a loss. You know what I mean? So no harm, no foul type of situation. But hopefully in the future, in that situation, I'm going to be paying attention. I think a lot of people are in how they approach it, because I think if you're going to be aggressive, be aggressive. Screen passes to me aren't aggressive. Screen passes to me are, let's see if we can trick them into giving us some yards. And obviously it didn't work out.
I think they were just looking for something quick to potentially get a big chunk to decide if they were really going to push it or not. And I think that's what a lot of teams do. But as you pointed out, a lot of teams do that by handing it to their running back and see if they can break off a 12 or a 13-yard run. And that kind of gets the team in flow. And it's like, okay, we can start to press a little bit more now.
Well, James, before we move into our next segment, let's hear from one member of Bucs Nation. We already heard from his son. Well, kind of. We already saw from his son. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but let's hear from the father this time.
Fire the cannons, boys! Matt from Morven, Georgia here, coming to you live from behind enemy lines. Get your brooms out. We swept them old dirty birds. I was getting tired of eating turkey anyway. Nothing like that cannon smoke, dirty bird, smothered with extra victory gravy. I was a little bit worried with the defense playing like it did in that first half, but boy, they came roaring back there in the second. Loved seeing all the sacks. I think my play of the game would have to be that Vita Vea sack where he just absolutely squashed Matt Ryan into the turf there. Love it. Let's go, Bucs! Fire the cannon!
Does this sound familiar? You've got one device that lets you catch the game live, another that lets you stream your favorite shows. You're watching sports highlights on your phone, and you've got your neighbor's best friend log in for the good stuff. We want to tell you about a simple way to get all that entertainment that you love without the hassle, and finally get your TV together. It's called DirecTV Stream, and it brings you your live TV and on-demand favorites together like never before, so you can watch your favorite sports, movies, and shows all in one place. That means no more juggling remotes, no need to buy another device ever again. And the best part is there's no annual contract. So get rid of the clutter, get rid of the confusion, get your TV together with DirecTV Stream. You can learn more at directtv.com. That's directtv.com. Compatible device required. Content varies by package.
Segment 2 here at the Locked On Bucs podcast. Thanks for making this show your first listen or your first view of the day. If you're joining us over at or on YouTube, rather, please click subscribe and check that block for those alerts so you know whenever a new episode drops. And of course, if you're listening to us in audio format, as always, please click subscribe, follow the show for all your Buccaneers news, information, and analysis from us and from Bucs fans.
What's up, fellas? This is Dustin in Pensacola. I've been listening for a couple of years. My first time calling in. Guys, it's always nice to beat the Falcons, ain't it? With the all-time series lead, 29-28. I remember a couple of years ago, we were down to this team 42-0 at halftime. Maybe it was 49-0 at halftime. They were just doing whatever they wanted to us. And look at us now. We got a fat lead in the NFC South. It's real nice. It's a testament to Jason Light and Bruce Arians and all the work these guys have done, drafting the right pieces and putting everything into place. I don't take these wins for granted. Shout out to Bucs Nation, everybody that's stuck in there and hung in through the tough times, and looking forward to the rest of the season. Appreciate all the content and all the good work you guys do. Go Bucs.
Dustin, we appreciate you and we appreciate you calling in. Hopefully you continue to do so. I was having a good day up until he reminded me of that Thursday night debacle when it was just, that was the worst game of all time. It was so bad.
That was pretty bad.
But yeah, I mean, this is Tampa Bay's third consecutive win in Atlanta. So, that's always good to hear. Fun fact, David, since December of last year, Mac Jones is 2-0 in Atlanta. Alabama's 3-0 in Atlanta. Tom Brady's 2-0 in Atlanta. And Atlanta is 0-7 in Atlanta. Since the people in Georgia having a bad weekend, man. Bad weekend for people in Georgia.
Thanks. I guess hopefully you're a Braves fan, and if you're a Bulldogs fan, maybe Georgia will still make it into the playoffs. I don't know. Who knows?
They're in the playoffs. It's just a matter of, can they get to the finals? I don't want a Georgia Alabama national championship. Anyway, we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about the Buccaneers defeating the Atlanta Falcons 30-17, one step closer to clinching the NFC South for the Buccaneers. And David, let's dive into the offensive and defensive sides of the ball, starting with the offense. And Leonard Fournette is the man. I don't want to hear any more discussion about when is Ronald Jones going to get his opportunity. I don't want to hear any more discussion or any more questions or any more complaining about why isn't Rojo getting these carries? Why is Rojo in the doghouse? No, it has nothing to do with Ronald Jones anymore. It is Leonard Fournette. The guy has 9 touchdowns on the season. He's got 5 in the last 2 weeks. He has, it's either the third or the fourth best catch rate of any player in the NFL. So it's a matter of, he has proven himself to be the best runner on the team right now. He has proven himself to be a legitimate threat out of the backfield, catching passes and making plays. Leonard Fournette is the guy for this team moving forward. And yeah, you're going to put Ronald Jones in, here and there to spell Leonard Fournette, but Leonard Fournette, it's not 1A and 1B. It is 1, then 2, then 3. And you could even make the argument that Ronald Jones is number 3 now behind Giovanni Bernard, because Gio still gets a lot of those third down snaps, but he doesn't need to anymore. Leonard Fournette is a 3 down back this year. So yeah, I'm done with that conversation completely. And moving over real quick to Tom Brady before I pass the baton off to you. Look, Tom Brady, undefeated against the Atlanta Falcons, one of 5 teams that he has never lost to. He, in a game where the Buccaneers never trailed, he threw 51 pass attempts. Not only were those the most pass attempts that he has thrown this season, those were the most pass attempts he has thrown as a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. Let's take it one step further, David. Those are the most pass attempts that he has had in a game since week 13 of 2015, when the New England Patriots lost to the Philadelphia Eagles. He had 56 pass attempts in that game. These were the most pass attempts he had in a victory since the Buffalo Bills in week 2 of that same 2015 season, where he had 59. So these are the most passes he's thrown in 6 years. Most as a Buccaneer, and the Bucs never trail.
It just kind of goes to show you how much they really are relying on the passing game. and even as an extension, quote unquote, of the running game with Leonard Fournette, contributing there as a receiver as much as he has. And yeah, it's not that Rojo's been put in the doghouse, James. I think at one point, and that's kind of how it started, is that Rojo got put in the doghouse, but I don't think he's in the doghouse anymore. I think he's in the main part of the house, right? But I think that Lenny has moved up to the penthouse. I
That's a
think
good
that's
way to
really
put it.
what this boils down to. And then looking over at the defense side of things, James, this Tampa Bay Buccaneers defensive line, and as an extension of the defensive front, the pass rush completely bailed out the secondary today. I mean, if that pass rush wasn't getting home, if that defensive line wasn't doing what they were doing against Matt Ryan and the Atlanta Falcons, this game could have gone a lot differently. 5 sacks on the day from the Buccaneers defense, 4 of those coming from the defensive line, 2 from Vita Vea, 2 from Ndamukong Suh. Cam Gill, like the number 5 linebacker, I think, in the middle linebacker, off ball linebacker depth chart, came through with the 5th one. It was great. Love to see Cam, getting some burn and making the best of it. But without those 5 sacks, a lot of other things don't happen, including my play of the game, which is going to come up later. I think when Matt Ryan was getting the ball away, guys, Russell Gage, for one, was just tearing up this Buccaneers secondary. 11 catches on 12 targets. Okay. 11 catches on 12 targets. This is Russell Gage. This is number 4 receiver if he's in Tampa Bay. Russell Gage. Kyle Pitts, the tight end, 4 catches for 48 yards. Want to talk about scheming and coaching? Kyle Pitts caught the ball 4 times for 48 yards. Of those 4 catches, James, only once was he covered by a linebacker on one of those catches. That means something. That shows you that even for all the deficiencies we talk about with Devin White covering, linebackers, running backs, and all this stuff, these offenses are coming out here right now and they're saying, no, the weakness in pass coverage is not over the middle against the young Devin White, who's still developing as a true pass defender. It's on the perimeter against these cornerbacks. Jamel Dean leaves with an injury. We'll have to see what his update is. Sean Murphy Bunting leaves with an injury. We'll have to see what his update is. Now, he tweeted out that he's fine. We'll have to see what that really, really means. But at the end of the day, James, this secondary is not scaring anybody. In fact, teams are scheming to get their best athletes, i.e. Kyle Pitts and Russell Gage, against your cornerbacks. You can't rely on these pass rushers to get home every single week, especially, James, when you have the number 2 team in protecting their own quarterback. The Buffalo Bills, Josh Allen, has been sacked the second fewest times in the NFL coming up next weekend.
Yeah, and I think Jonathan Vilma made a good point on the TV broadcast, was that Matt Ryan was going after Carlton Davis. Davis still made some really solid plays. He laid completely out and deflected a pass that could have gone for a huge gain, and he tipped it just enough to cause the incompletion. As they go down the stretch, as long as Sean Murphy Bunting's okay, as long as Jamel Dean is okay, and these guys continue to play together for the next couple of weeks, they're only going to get better and stronger as a unit as they finish up the regular season. That's my personal belief. We're going to have to see if it comes to fruition. David, this holiday season, it is time to grab the protein bar that tastes like a candy bar, or even better than a candy bar, Built Bar, filled with so much holiday goodness, rich with decadent flavor, covered in chocolate, but amazingly low in calories, sugar, net carbs, and fat, but super high in protein. So you get the best of both worlds, delicious and healthy. Lots of flavors to choose from. You know it: raspberry mint brownie, cherry, double chocolate, peanut butter brownie, cookies, and cream. Built Bar gives you that extra fuel that you need to bust down those mall doors and battle all the holiday shoppers. Or if you're standing in endless shopping lines, Built Bar can give you that extra something to keep you going. So throw it in your jacket, your purse, your pocket. You never know when you're going to need it. People are always so passionate about their favorite flavor. Go to built.com. Use promo code LOCKED15 and you're going to get 15% off your order. Again, promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com.
And while you're enjoying that Built Bar, go over to BetOnline.ag and browse the props, odds, and lines that they have for the remainder of the football season, moving towards the playoffs. You've got playoff odds as well, and Super Bowl odds if you haven't already thrown your money behind the team that you want to support. BetOnline remains your number one spot for your sports action this season. So head over to the updated mobile and desktop website, sign up today, and get a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit by using the promo code LOCKEDON. Whether you're looking for basketball, football, hockey, boxing, UFC, or your favorite Vegas casino game action, don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for 2021. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts.
Wrapping things up here on a Victory Monday edition of the Locked On Bucs podcast. James Yarko, David Harrison on Twitter at @JYarko_Bucs, at DHarrison82. Before we get to our plays and players of the game, David, let's hit the voicemail line one more time.
What's up, boys? Tyler from Boston. Bucks win. I love it. And the way I look at it, we dominated a team that we should beat. And it's sweeter when you consider it's the division rival Falcons. I felt like everybody today had a good day. Even Godwin, I mean, maybe the quietest, 15 reception game that I've ever seen personally. Maybe it's because he's so dependable. And the defense as well. The defense only allowed 10 points, and that was only in the first half. And they shut them down the second half. And on that last drive, didn't give up the score. The better team won today. The penalties are being cleaned up. So I'm happy about that as well. And I'm happy to roll in to a Victory Monday. Go Bucs.
Tyler, love it. Thank you for the call. Always appreciate hearing from you. Yeah, it was, he's right. I sat there and I watched the game after I got home, and it was like, Chris Godwin for 6 yards, Chris Godwin for 26 yards, Chris Godwin for 11 yards. But it's like, as the game kept going, you kept hearing Godwin's name, but it still seemed like he wasn't doing much, probably just because he didn't get into the end zone. But what a day for Godwin. Absolutely outstanding. David, let's get to our plays of the game, and I'm going to jump in first. Look, the Bucs lose Jamel Dean. They have to call on Pierre Desir to come in the game. 2 plays later, on what would have been a huge gain for the Atlanta Falcons to move them into Buccaneers territory, threatening to score, Pierre Desir with the peanut punch pops the ball out. The Bucs recover the fumble. The offense couldn't do anything with it, but that was a huge, huge play for a guy that just had to come off the bench and replace Jamel Dean after he suffered what is assumed to be a concussion. He's going through the protocol now.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those plays that you're in a moment where, again, you're losing players and injury is kind of like, oh, here we go again type of thing. And then for one of those depth players to come in and make a play like that, it just kind of shows the resiliency of this unit and the great job that the coaching staff is doing, which should give Bucs fans a little bit of confidence moving forward, even as they do face a tough team like the Buffalo Bills next weekend. But we'll get more into that later this week. My play of the game, James, is the Matt Ryan intentional grounding play. And I know it's kind of weird because it's something that a Falcons player did right now. He was in the grasp. He was going to get sacked and all those things. It would have made 6 sacks for the day for the Buccaneers defense. Instead, Matt Ryan decides to just randomly chuck the ball away. It doesn't land anywhere near an eligible receiver. So it's an easy intentional grounding. At first it was called a fumble. Then it was reviewed. Easy to overturn that. But here's the thing. If Matt Ryan takes that sack, and this is an estimation from my recollection, it's 4th and 4, 4th and 5 or so, right around there somewhere. He's very close to the line of scrimmage, but he's getting brought down. It's definitely not 4th and 12, right, where he's getting sacked. So it's a closer opportunity on 4th down for maybe the Falcons to decide to go for it if they want to go for it. Instead, because he throws the ball away and gets the intentional grounding, and this is where the pressure is cumulative conversation comes in, all those sacks and all those hits make Matt Ryan make that kind of a bad decision for his team. So they get a 10-yard penalty because that's the standard for intentional grounding. If it's not 10 yards behind the line of scrimmage, they just give you 10 yards. That's what they get. 4th and 12 now at the Atlanta 47. Now you're in your own area. Now it's 4th and 12. You don't have the horses to make that play. So instead, the Falcons punt. They give the ball back to the Buccaneers. And essentially, that's all she wrote. And Jonathan Vilma even mentioned that if he were a coach, he would have gone for it. And he would have had no worries going for it. And I don't think that if Jonathan Vilma was wearing the head coach label, he would have made that decision as easily as he thinks he would have. But that was my play of the game because I just think that basically was the last chance the Falcons really had at making that a game. My player of the game, we just talked about, it was going to be Chris Godwin. It may have been quiet, but it was a franchise record. 15 catches, and not only that, 15 catches on 17 targets. Shout out to Greg Allman, who did the research. The fewest targets ever needed for a receiver to hit 15 receptions. So that as well is impressive. Congratulations to him and to Tom Brady for facilitating that. 143 yards, no touchdowns, but that's all right. Moves him into 4th place as well. James, in Buccaneers history, he passed Jimmy Giles and the late Vincent Jackson. Now he has 4,346 career receiving yards, just 600 yards away from Kevin House. So hopefully he comes back next year. I know everybody wants him back next year, and he'll get to surpass Kevin House as well and move in to 3rd place.
Now, my player of the game is going to be Rob Gronkowski. And I know it's kind of weird because the guy only had 4 receptions on 8 targets, so only a 50% catch rate. But 58 yards, 2 scores. And that first score, Brady threads the needle, gets it past an outstretched hand of a defender, Gronk catch and run. Then his second touchdown was just an absolute beauty. Just dropped it right in his hands. So what we're seeing now, and this is something that I've been looking for since Gronk returned from injury, we're starting to see the way that Brady and Gronk were clicking early in the year, where Gronk wasn't, he wasn't getting a ton of reception. He wasn't getting a ton of yards, but they had that chemistry. They had that communication where Gronk was consistently getting in the end zone before suffering that injury. We're starting to see that come back, which is another really, really good sign for the Buccaneers offense moving into this final stretch and heading into the postseason. They still are the 3 seed behind the Cardinals and the Packers. The Packers have the edge in the, I believe it's the conference record. Need the Packers to lose a game, need the Cardinals to lose a game, and need the Bucs to continue winning. Shout out to David for being really, really close to nailing your bold prediction, and really relatively close on your score prediction, 31-17. I was 1 of 3 on my bold prediction. Brady was under 400 yards, got the 4 touchdowns, but did have the turnover. So yeah, nicely done, David. You
I
beat me this
appreciate it.
round.
Other than Ryan Suckup messing me up, would have been fine.
Right? So, all right. Well, that is going to do it for this episode. Thank you to our regular callers, Matt and Tyler. And special shout out to Dustin, the first time caller from, I do believe he said Pensacola, right? Dustin, we want to hear from you much more often. We want to hear from you as often as we do Matt and Tyler. For those of you that want to contribute and call in, you can do so by calling 813-444-5841. And we thank all of you, callers or not, for making the Locked On Bucs podcast your first listen or first watch every day. Now, make sure your second listen is Locked On Bets, your daily one-stop shop for all your gambling needs. Locked On Bets, hosted by your boy Q, with expert analysis and insight from Lee Sterling. Check out everything that we are doing over at BucsNation.com. Follow along on Twitter at Locked On Bucs, at JRCO_Bucs, at DHarrison82, and at Bucs_Nation. Hope you all have an absolutely outstanding Victory Monday. Stay safe, stay healthy, wash your hands, be good to one another. We thank you so much for joining us right here at Locked On Bucs.